Hello everyone, I'm Shinyuan. This episode of the life of the Buddha is short, but rich and profound, packed with essential teachings. I've divided it into 4 parts. First, the ordination of the Buddha's son, Rahula, at the age of 20. Second, the Buddha's teaching on non-self. Third, the discourse on the supreme teaching of solitude. And fourth, the Buddha's transmission of the Dharma to Mahakasyapa through holding a flower and smiling. After the 13th rainy season retreat, the Buddha returned to Savasti, accompanied by Pukkusa and Rahula. It was Pukkusa's first visit to the Jeta Grove, and he was amazed by how peaceful and perfect the place was for practice. The grove was cool, quiet, and pure, with a warm, kind atmosphere. Everyone greeted Pukkusa with a smile. They all knew that the discourse on the water buffalo was taught thanks to his inspiration. Pukkusa deeply believed that practicing in such a supportive community would greatly benefit his path. He began to understand the importance of the Sangha. It is no less important than the Buddha and the Dharma. The Sangha is a community that practices the way of awareness together, supporting and guiding one another. Taking refuge in the Sangha is truly essential. Rahula had just turned 20. Sariputta ordained him as a fully ordained bhikkhu, and all the monks rejoiced for him. Before the ordination, Sariputta had given Rahula special instructions. Pukkusa stayed close by those days, eager to learn from Sariputta's teachings. After Rahula's ordination, the Buddha himself taught them various methods of meditation, and Pukkusa was invited to join. The Buddha taught them to contemplate the 6 sense organs: eye, nose, tongue, body, and mind, the 6 sense objects: form, sound, smell, taste, touch, and mental objects, and the 6 consciousnesses: eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, and mind consciousness. He guided them to observe deeply these 18 realms of experience, which depend on one another. None of them has a permanent, independent self. Understanding this truth leads to seeing the ultimate reality of all phenomena and transcending birth and death. The Buddha explained the truth of emptiness and non-self in great detail to Rahula. He said, "Rahula, among the 5 aggregates form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness, not one is permanent or has a separate self. This physical body is not ma, nor does it belong to a ma. The so-called self cannot be found in the body, nor can the body be found in a self. There are 3 wrong views about the self. First, that form is the self, or that the 5 aggregates are the self. Second, that the self is separate from the aggregates, and the aggregates belong to the self. Third, that the self exists within the aggregates, and the aggregates exist within the self." By meditating and observing the 5 aggregates deeply, Rahula realized they are not self, not belonging to self, and not mixed with self. When these 3 wrong views are destroyed, one perceives the true nature of emptiness in all things. During his stay, Pukkusa noticed an elder monk who always walked alone and rarely spoke to anyone. Although he did not disturb others or break the precepts, Pukkusa felt he was not truly living in harmony with the Sangha. Once, when Pukkusa tried to speak to him, the elder just walked away without responding. The other monks called him the loner. Pukkusa often heard the Buddha encourage the monks to avoid useless talk, practice meditation, and be self-reliant. But he felt this elder's way of life was not what the Buddha truly meant. Confused, Pukkusa went to the Buddha for guidance. The next day, during the teaching, the Buddha called the elder forward and asked, "Do you enjoy being alone, relying on no one, and avoiding contact with others?" The elder replied, "Yes, blessed one, that is correct. You have told us to be self-reliant and practice in solitude." The Buddha turned to the Sangha and said, "Bhikkhus, I will clarify what true self-reliance and proper solitude mean. A truly self-reliant person lives with mindfulness, aware of everything happening in the present moment in body, feeling, mind, and mental objects. They do not chase the past, nor lose themselves in the future. The past is gone. The future has not yet come. Life exists only in the present moment. To lose this moment is to lose life itself. Living fully in the present is the true way of solitude. Chasing the past means being trapped in thoughts of how you looked, felt, or what you experienced before. Losing yourself in the future means being caught in hopes, fears, and worries about what is yet to come. Return to the present. Only by touching life directly can you see it clearly. A truly solitary person is present even among people. If you sit alone in the forest but wander in past and future, you are not truly alone. The Buddha concluded with a verse: do not chase the past. Do not lose yourself in the future. The past is gone. The future has not come. See life clearly in the present, here and now. Those who walk this way are steady and free. Practice diligently today. Tomorrow may be too late. Death can come at any time. There is no time to waste. The wise praise those who live mindfully day and night as the true noble ones in solitude. After the verse, the Buddha thanked the elder and asked him to be seated. He did not praise or criticize him, but the elder clearly understood the true meaning of self-reliance and solitude. That evening, the great disciples reflected deeply on the Buddha's teaching. Anatta repeated every word, including the verse, perfectly from memory. Mahakasyapa proposed that this teaching be recorded as a scripture, named the Supreme Discourse on Solitude, and that all monks should learn and practice it. Mahakasyapa stood in support. The next morning, as the monks went for alms, they saw children playing by the fields, torturing a crab. One boy held it down and pulled off its claws while the others cheered. When the children saw the Buddha and the monks, they bowed, but continued their cruelty. The Buddha called to them, "Children, if someone tore off your arms and legs, would it hurt?" They said, "Yes, Master." The Buddha said, "Do you not know the crab also feels pain, just like you? It eats, drinks, and has a family. When you harm it, you cause suffering to it and its loved ones. Reflect on your actions." The children seemed to realize their mistake. With villagers gathering nearby, the Buddha taught the Dharma of loving kindness. All beings deserve peace and happiness. Whether two-legged, four-legged, swimming, or flying, all have the right to live. We must not harm or kill any living being. Just as a mother would sacrifice everything to protect her child, we should open our hearts and care for all beings. Let love fill our hearts, in all directions, day and night, in every posture. The Buddha told the children to release the crab. He said to everyone, "Those who purified their hearts with loving kindness bring joy to themselves first. They sleep well, wake peacefully, and are free from nightmares and sorrow. All beings protect and care for those who love them. Kindness brings great joy, and gently eases the suffering of others." Pukkusa saw the Buddha's wish to teach children, so he and Rahula started classes for children on Vulture Peak. Young lay supporters helped, and the youth gathered monthly to study the Dharma. One full moon day, Princess Vajira told the children to bring flowers to offer to the Buddha. They picked wildflowers, while the princess brought lotuses from the palace pond. They entered the hall quietly as the Buddha was about to teach. They placed the flowers before him and bowed. The Buddha smiled and bowed back, inviting the children to sit in front. On that special day, the Buddha stood up, held up a single lotus flower, and said nothing. Everyone sat at it quietly. After a moment, the Buddha looked at the assembly and smiled gently. He said, "I hold the true eye of the Dharma, the treasury of profound wisdom. I have just transmitted it to Mahakasyapa." Everyone turned to Mahakasyapa, who was smiling, his gaze never leaving the Buddha and the flower. When they looked back, the Buddha was also smiling at the lotus. Though Pukkusa was a little confused, he remained mindful. He looked at the Buddha and began to follow his breath. The lotus in the Buddha's hand was in full bloom, held gracefully between his thumb and finger. In that moment, Pukkusa truly understood the pure beauty of the lotus. There was nothing to think about. He simply smiled. Naturally, the Buddha spoke, "Friends, this flower is the wonderful truth itself. When I hold it before you, you have the chance to experience it. To touch the flower is to touch truth, to touch life itself. Mahakasyapa smiled because he touched the flower directly. Your mental obstacles prevent you from truly meeting it. If you think, we see holding a flower, you cannot experience the flower. To be lost in thinking is to lose yourself. It stops you from touching life as it is. If you are controlled by worry, anger, jealousy, or desire, you miss the wonder of life. This lotus is real only to those who are in the present. If you are not here now, the flower does not exist for you. Life contains suffering, but it is also full of wonders. Meet both without being lost in them. To truly touch life is to abide deeply in each moment. Only then can you understand impermanence and interdependence, and be free from craving, anger, and attachment. Only then do you attain true liberation. Pukkusa was joyful, glad that he had understood, and smiled even before the Buddha spoke. Mahakasyapa had smiled first. He was one of Pukkusa's teachers, a great disciple of the Buddha, far advanced on the path. Pukkusa knew he could not compare to Mahakasyapa, Sariputta, Mahakasyapa, or Assaji. After all, he was only 24. This in-depth episode of the life of the Buddha comes to an end. Thank you for your support and likes. May all who see and hear this grow in blessings and wisdom, and attain enlightenment soon. Until next time.
本音频由魔音工坊 AI 生成，